So the question that was asked was, what defines an individual as a colonialist historically, or as a colonizer historically? There's three important factors that have to be considered. The original one is overpopulation. So ask yourself, which groups of people or which races historically have been overpopulated to the point of excess? That's your first question. Now, of the groups of people that are overpopulated to excess, which ones have taken their population and supplanted it in multiple continents? That's your second question. The third question is, of the people that are overpopulated and that have supplanted other populations with their own by going to multiple continents, which ones have established treaty with local people? Excuse me. Which ones have established treaty with local people? So your first question is, which groups of people are overpopulated? China, Japan, India, Spain, Arabia, and the whites. Second question is, of those people, which ones have supplanted other populations with their own? Arabia, Spain, and the whites. So while China and India, we might think of them as the most numerous, they didn't necessarily go to other places and supplant other people's populations with their own, historically. So they get a bit of a pass on that. Japan is similar, except for the case of World War II. But they failed, so it doesn't really count against them. So now, out of the groups of people that are overpopulated and have spread their population to multiple places, there's only three: Arabic, Spaniard, and white. Now, out of those three, when the Arabs went to northern India and established their culture there, forming modern Pakistan, they weren't asking, they were taking. When they went to Indonesia and established their culture there, they weren't asking, they were taking. And when they went to West Africa and established their culture there, they weren't asking, they were taking. When they went to East Africa and established their culture there, they weren't asking, they were taking. When they went to ancient Judea and established their culture there, they weren't asking, they were taking. When they went to Southern Europe and established their culture there, they weren't asking, they were taking. That's what a colonizer does, historically. The Spaniards fall under the same group. Historically, they have indeed supplanted other populations with their own via the import of colonial groups, along with the destruction of tribal nationalities in the regions in which they have established themselves, which would be the assimilation of people that would have otherwise been tribal, but are not tribal because they're Spaniard. Now, so when the Spaniards went to Mesoamerica, South America, and the South China Sea, they were not asking, they were taking. In fact, they took so much that there are no more tribal nationalities in any of those places. Now, when the white man went to South Africa, he definitely wasn't asking, he was taking. When he came to North America and Australia, he definitely wasn't asking, he was taking. But the difference is that we have treaties with him. So from a red Indian perspective, not from an Asian Indian perspective, but from a red Indian perspective, the colonizers of the world are the people who are A, overpopulated, and B, have spread their overpopulation to multiple regions, and C, have failed to establish tribal relations with local people that have allowed the continuation of tribal nationality in those places. So while the white man brutally conquested North America and Australia, there are still First Nations in those lands. And while the Arab brutally conquested Indonesia and northern India and southern Europe, there was no continuation of other nations within their empires when they were there. When the Spaniards conquested Mesoamerica and the South China Sea and South America, there was no continuation of tribal nations when they supplanted themselves there, which is what defines that. So again, it's threefold. The first question is, which race is overpopulated? Chinese, Japanese, Asian Indian, Arabic, Spaniard, and white. Now, out of those overpopulated races, who has gone to other places and supplanted the population? Arabic, Spaniard, and white. Now, of the three that are A, overpopulated, and B, have spread their overpopulation to multiple continents, which is only those three, which one is responsible for not establishing relations with local people in such a way that has allowed the continuation of tribal nationality, which would only be the Arab and the Spaniard? We would never deny that the white man came and colonialized the places that he did, but we are under treaty obligations with him, even to this day. So it's different. It's completely different. There are only a handful of overpopulated races, and out of the overpopulated races, there are only a handful that have supplanted other populations with their own. And out of those that have done that, there's only one that has established treaty with red people and with Australian native people to continue the First Nations until the modern day. The Spaniards have never done such a thing, and neither have the Arabs. So who is a colonialist? Hispanic, Arab, and white. Now, which of the colonialists have made good deals with the red men, or deals at all with the red men, or the Australians? Only the white men. And that's the question that you have to ask yourself. Who is a colonizer? Well, who is overpopulated, and who has supplanted others with his own overpopulated mess? And out of those that have supplanted other populations with his own overpopulation, who has failed to establish treaty with local nations that have preserved those nations until the modern day? The Spaniards and the Arabs have failed.